So going live, Roger.
You can still talk a little bit, but it's always interesting.
I would like. Can I talk a little bit about something?
Just give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. I want to welcome everybody to the world according to that man, Benjamin Jeremy Stein, who has a lot to talk about tonight, and I will let him talk about that in a few seconds. But I want to welcome everybody in the chat, and I want to really just from the bottom of our hearts thank everybody that's been downloading the episodes. It's been doing absolutely amazing, and we really just humbly thank you from America's humble servant, Benjamin Jeremy Stein. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, Rob, for helping out with a lot of that. And of course, Ben Boychuk, who will be interviewing Ben Stein next week, for helping out with that. And of course, for important updates, you could get us at benstein.substack.com. We will be doing shorter shows, different hours sometimes, and we want to let you know when we'll be doing that. Like we had that special on Sunday night with Ben Boychuk, and it was quite amazing, and we're quite proud of it. So let's welcome the people that are on the panel tonight. Of course, Ben, the Iron Man Boychuk, from managing editor of AM Greatness, American Greatness. Everybody go look at it. Great piece today by Victor Davis Hanson. And of course, we are joined also from We Grow Indie.
You grow hair, Indie.
No, but they grew you, Indie.
Oh, yes, they did.
They not just your hair, you were grown there. And from 93.1 WIBC, bam, Robbie Kendall. Rob, good to see you and your hair.
Ben, I was born in Independence, Missouri. What other president is from Independence, Missouri?
Truman.
Amazing. It's like he's like the human Wikipedia page. It's just
I looked up myself on Wikipedia last night. Every word they say about me is a lie. It's incredible. It's like my worst enemy made up a fantasy biography of me. Almost nothing in it is true.
That's how you know you've made it, Ben. That's how you know you've made it.
It's just totally made up stories about me. Just totally made up. The people who don't, as far as I know, don't even exist.
But Ben, it's the salacious parts of you on Wikipedia that made me love you in the first place.
Well, thank you very much. I wish I had a more exciting life.
No, just so you know, there are some very complimentary things, and I will tell. I've shared this before. I will share. I've shared this before. One of my favorite, and Rob, before we get into the serious stuff, one of my favorite fanboy moments of the year was Ben did during COVID. He did something called Ferris Bueller Reunited but Apart, and it was really special. They asked Ben to be involved. I got a homie credit for helping set it up. But one of the coolest things about it was they kept on asking like questions about what resonates so much with John Hughes, and Alan Ruck, who plays Cameron on it, was so complimentary to Ben. And the quotes from Wikipedia that Ben has used, and the through line really for Ben with John Hughes it was all about love. And
yes, and everything meaningful in life is
perfectly said. And on that note, welcome to the world according to that man, Benjamin Jeremy Stein, actor, writer, provocateur, saint, sinner, lover, father, grandfather, economist, mathematician, statistician, mathematician, but of course, most importantly, America's doctor.
I beg. You cannot imagine what I can do with these hands. You cannot imagine. You'll see. You'll see.
You're saying it so much that some of us might not want to imagine what you could do with those hands.
Don't even imagine. Don't think about it. But if you have a relative suffering from mental disease or disorder or defect, I can reach into his or her brain and rip out the offending molecules and portions of the brain.
Yeah, Mike.
Feed them to my dog.
Mike, you're right. I almost made it. And of course, Rob's hair is looking good. I just want to get to the, so people see that I'm reading. And Brady, thank you for hotspotting us tonight. But let's get to the issues at hand, because Lord knows there are a lot of issues at hand, Ben Boychuk. So please, with the first story of the night, Ben Boychuk.
Well, what did the Biden administration know, and when did they know it? The Wall Street Journal today has a big story about a July memo to the State Department signed by 23 U.S. embassy staffers in Kabul, warning that at that time that the march of the Taliban was going a lot more quickly than anybody had anticipated, and that the State Department and the administration had best do something about it. The classified cable represents the clearest evidence yet, the journal reports, that the administration had been warned by its own officials on the ground that the Taliban's advance was imminent and Afghanistan's military may be unable to stop it.
Ben Stein, for 5 years, for 5 years, we had to deal with every piece of garbage they could throw at the president of the United States. For some cockamamie phone call that he made, for things we don't even know, impeachment twice. Right now, we have evidence of what you called the other night treason.
Well, that's in the Constitution. That's in the Constitution. I didn't make that up. I mean,
no.
that was written by John, probably Madison.
No, I didn't say you made up. What I'm saying is to bet to the story right now. This is a really frightening thing, Ben.
It's terrifying. Well, what's terrifying is aid and comfort to the enemy in time of war. Not subtle. It's absolutely clear cut. This the evidence on the ground is very, very clear. And now, when we learn that the enemy on the ground was basically just being given the most advanced armaments, artillery, heavy-duty, powerful sniper gear by our own soldiers who we thought were our allies. So we were basically, if you look at the truth of it, giving this weaponry to our enemies in time of war. So that's treason, absolutely cut and dried, at least as far as I can see, and I may be wrong. Why is there no commission investigating this? Why is there no district attorney prosecuting Mr. Biden and Mr. Blinken and Mr. General Austin? I think his last name was Austin. I forgot. The Secretary of Defense. Why is there no prosecution going on? Why is the head of the U.S. forces in Afghanistan not facing a very serious court martial about this? Had this happened under the Republicans, the country would be screaming bloody murder, and rightly so. What is going on here? Why are the Democrats letting themselves get away with anything? Because it's now, as far as law and media, a one-party state. It's no longer a multi-party democracy. It is a one-party Stalinist state.
Perfectly said, Rob Kendall.
So every week I bet on a guy in golf named Harry Higgs. And Harry Higgs is terrible. And almost every week he hits shots that I look at and say, how is it possible that he hits shots that bad? And then I'm frustrated with myself that I wasted money on this guy. The point is, though, every week I know he's going to hit shots that are going to make me angry, and yet I keep doing it. Thus, I have no excuse for not knowing how bad he's going to play. The Biden administration, when you consider this guy had been in office for 50 years in public life, he had been a part of Afghanistan either as a United States senator or as vice president for 16 of the 20 years we had been there, or it was 17 now, I guess if you include the presidency. For him to not know that the moment they made this announcement and the moment they began to do this, that this was going to happen, it's the same as me being surprised that Harry Higgs is not going to win the golf tournament.
Except that it is not a legal matter for you to bet on Harry Hicks. It is not a matter of treason. This is treason, and it is treason that is not being punished in any way, shape, or form by the law enforcement authorities. That's my opinion. I could be wrong. There are a lot of people who know more than I do, but
not many.
It seems to, God bless you. It seems to me that this is clear-cut treason. I cannot even imagine. And Ben, I see you sitting there quietly. Ben, can you imagine if this had been done in the Trump administration?
They would have impeached him already.
Impeached him
the third time.
They had to arrest, sir. I think
they would have arrested him. Ben's right.
Arrested him.
But Ben brings up a great point. Every district attorney, they would have brought Trump up. I mean, you would have had a Ben Boychuk, every prosecutor in America. like salivating
You know
to
what?
go.
Judah, with the greatest respect to you, you're very, very dear to me and to my wife. It's not funny. It's incredibly sad. It's incredibly sad for the very, very many fine Afghani men and women who are going to be murdered, raped, tortured. That's incredibly sad for them. It's incredibly sad that America is taking a step backward into cowardice and anarchy. It is incredibly sad that we are being that we are throwing overboard our entire Constitution, the greatest document ever struck off by the hand of man at any one time. That's unbelievably sad. It's incredibly sad. If I may respectfully say so, I think this is worse, yes, worse than the southern states seceding to begin the Civil War.
Well, it underscores the deep corruption in our political system, because really, I mean, I think the truth of the matter is that the only remedy for this right now, short of an election, is a congressional impeachment process. He should be impeached and removed. But that's obviously not going to happen as long as the Democrats run the House and the Senate. But certainly Marjorie Taylor Greene, for all the good it's going to do, has introduced articles. But it seems to me that's the only remedy. It's a political remedy, but the corruption within the institutions is so deep that it's a minor miracle that Biden is coming into some criticism at all from the likes of CNN and MSNBC. Because
well, but the nerve. Sorry, I'm sorry.
No, please,
Ben.
please go ahead. It's perfect.
No. Oh, what I was thinking is, yesterday I had lunch with one of my very, very smartest friends, an extremely smart man named, really smart man named Philip Demuth. And as we were leaving our luncheon place, I heard Biden giving a speech about COVID and about how the Republicans are not cooperating in fighting COVID. And I thought, the nerve of this bastard for bringing this up and trying to divert attention from his own unbelievable failures is just disgraceful. To try to divert attention on the backs and lungs and hearts of old people who are dying of COVID, that shocks the conscience.
Well, you go with what you know. And that's what they know. That's how this is how Obama reacted. And this is how the Biden administration is. You divert, you deflect, and you hide. And that is absolutely their playbook. Biden ran it for a year, hiding in his basement. And now you have him hiding in what Camp David at first. Now, where is he again? For getting his fried chicken in Delaware for the weekend, Ben. And like you said,
I don't know, but let me just say, if I may, I've been to Camp David. I've been to Camp David several times. It has the most up-to-date communication equipment you can imagine. He could be in touch with anyone anywhere in the world saying anything he wanted if he had any intelligence or any balls. I hate to use that expression because I don't want to be crude, but this is a guy who has long since ceased to be a man. It's the guy who is not, by which I don't mean he's a manly man or he's not a woman. I mean, he does not have what it takes to be a human being.
So you bring up a great point. So, and Ben Boychuk and I were discussing this earlier, and you bring up a great point because he has every bit of technology at Camp David. Obviously, it took him a day and a half to get back to Boris Johnson.
To explain who Boris Johnson is.
Boris Johnson is obviously the Prime Minister of the UK. And
an incredibly important person.
And it took him a day and a half to respond to him, Ben Stein.
I know he could have responded to him in a second and a half.
Yeah. So in a heartbeat, he could have responded. And so that shows you the acumen that we're sort of dealing with there is none, obviously.
Now, this is a guy who, I think this is a hologram. I think Tucker Carlson, whom I like very, very much, called him that a long time ago. He's a hologram. Who is he a hologram for? Who are calling the shots in the White House? Who are calling the shots in the White House? That's what I would like to know. And I have the terrible feeling that it is not people who are pledged to maintain and defend and protect the Constitution of the United States.
Rob, I was on the phone the other day with Gary Collins, who's a freaking contributor here. And Gary brought up the point, and I'll go to Ben Boychuk too about this. When people, is it incompetence or is it negligence, or are they just really stupid? Because
please, once you're through with them, ask me that question.
Yeah, I will. I want to get to everybody on that question because, Rob, we always assume that like there's this cabal, there's this great cabal, and we always fluctuate between many generals these days being absolute idiots and many of these people being idiots. So do you think they're being done on purpose or just absolutely lack of caring, negligent? What is your thoughts on that?
Two things. One, I got to meet Judah's mom before the show today. That was awesome. We love Judah's mom. She's great. But two, we talked about this today on the air. I think the most offensive thing about this is this guy, for all the calamity that he is enacting on those people in Afghanistan, not just women, not just people who fought with the Americans bravely for decades, but also United States citizens. Look, there's a good chance United States citizens or people or United States soldiers or United States officers are going to die in Afghanistan from what he's doing.
Missionaries, aid workers.
He doesn't care at all. There appears to be a zero sense of people are going to die. It's wholly my fault. How do I fix this? He doesn't appear to care at all. And I think that's what's most alarming. And I think that's part of why the media is actually covering this, is because he doesn't appear to give a damn that people are dying and it's completely his fault.
And the media doesn't really give a damn either. I mean, can you imagine if we had this many Americans' lives at risk, some lives already apparently lost, and there were a Republican president and a Republican Congress? Can you imagine the screaming from the media in America, and rightly so? What is going on here? This country has stopped being a democracy. It has become a one-party state. I don't expect that even our very modest show is going to be allowed to continue for much longer.
Ben Stein, knock on wood, according to Biden, nobody's died in Afghanistan yet, Ben Boychuk.
It's already been reported that they have.
Yeah, I know, but according to Joe Biden, knock on wood.
Well, the people who were dying died like 4 or 5 days ago.
Yeah.
Which is what he told George Stephanopoulos the other day in an interview. Oh, the people who fell off the planes, that was 4 or 5 days ago.
And no follow-up. No follow-up question from George Stephanopoulos.
No, a political hack disguised as a wannabe journalist. So I'm going to repeat something I said on Sunday night. And underscore it and boldface it. What this shows more than anything else, it seems to me, is the utter illegitimacy of our expert class. The people who are in the intelligence community, the people who are in the top brass of the Pentagon, the people who are advising the president on matters foreign and domestic, the president, the top people, all the best people, the best and the brightest are not the best or very bright. And they, as we said at the top of the show, they knew that there was a very high likelihood that the Taliban was going to take over the country fairly quickly, that they were taking over provinces at a rapid clip. And so they knew at least a month ago. And I think smart people, I think the Inspector General, the Special Inspector General on the Afghanistan campaign, which put out a report the day before yesterday about lessons learned, they knew, or they should have known. Isn't that's a legal term of art too, right, Ben? Knew or should have known.
Knew or should have known, or showed such startling negligence on such a scale that it amounts to malice and intention.
Right. And certainly that has to be the case here. That's demonstrably so.
Demonstrably so. Robert Kendall, before I start throwing my ancient fat self into it, would you like to give a comment on this?
Well, one thing that I think is being not talked about enough is the impact this is having on people who have lost loved ones who fought in this war. nearly, well, I think it's like 3,000 soldiers, U.S. soldiers died in Afghanistan.
And many lost limbs.
Well, you're right. That doesn't underscore the people that lost limbs, that have PTSD, all the things that are associated. We got an email today on our show, which we read it on the air, from a woman who lost her brother. He was a Marine in 2011 in Afghanistan. And they said, the email, and I'm summarizing a long email here, but it basically said, look, we've spent years and years and years wondering what he died for. And now we're seeing this happen, and we're wondering it all over again. And I can't state this emphatically enough. If you know a veteran who served over there, check on that person. Make sure they're doing okay, because this is really rough for a lot of those people.
I happen to have as one of my best friends, an incredibly brave veteran. He did 5 tours, 3 in Afghanistan, 2 in Iraq. He is a brave man. He has a lot of problems with his family's health down there in Killeen, Texas. And my wife and I are very proud to encourage him morally and materially. And we are very, very proud to do that. And he is stunned and just stunned and amazed. But I'd like to go back to this. If this, where we knew we were going to be losing this country, where we knew we were going to be losing many, many lives to innocent and many, many innocent lives, where we knew and did nothing meaningful about it, that if that is not prosecuted, if that is not taken note of in a giant way involving criminal charges, then we are in a deep, horrifying quagmire.
And on that note, if you just tuned in, you are listening to The World According to that man, Benjamin Jeremy Stein. We are joined. I want to welcome everybody that's obviously in the chat. Remember, download the shows. It's been going great. Download the shows whenever possible. Please give that 5-star review. Subscribe to our email, benstein.substack.com. We have good content. We appreciate the feedback. It means the world to us. And we love comments. And
unlike some others,
unlike many others
who do not like comments, even some conservative people whom I really, really love, like Tucker. Tucker, if you write to Tucker, you might as well be throwing it into the ocean. But if you communicate with us, we're reading it and we're getting back to you.
I send Ben every single comment we ever get. I send most comments to Ben, and he absolutely loves them, and he thanks you for it. Rob, we're joined by 93.1 WIBC, Rob Kendall, and of course from American Greatness, Ben Boychik. And we are discussing some serious stuff, but we brought up a topic before we sort of but Ben, can you please read that the new headline from Fox?
Oh, God.
Taliban going house to house.
Yeah.
Yes. Taliban going house to house in Afghanistan, hanging people who worked.
Oh my God. Wait a minute. Read that slowly, please.
Right. Taliban going house to house in Afghanistan, hanging people who worked with the U.S.
Wow.
As the U.S. military and State Department rushed to evacuate American citizens and Afghan allies from Kabul's airport, Taliban checkpoints are cutting off many from freedom and safety, and reports on the ground indicate the militants are summarily executing people who helped U.S. forces over the years. Ryan Rogers, a retired Marine sergeant, told Fox News Thursday that the interpreter he worked with during the bloody 2010 Battle of Marja in Helmand province is currently trapped in Kabul, prevented from reaching the airport as Taliban fighters seek out and murder former Afghan commandos and interpreters. And the story goes on to say that this one translator is safe for the moment, but that he had personal knowledge of 3 government officials that he knew had been discovered and just dragged out into the street and hanged.
Ben Stein, what is this administration? What has this regime done? I mean, what
this is about the complete betrayal of these wonderful people who helped us, wonderful people, and the horrifying destruction of the Constitution of the United States. What does the Constitution mean anymore if this kind of thing can happen? And it is happening. And if Mr. Biden tries to make us think that it's just a Republican plot to divert us from fighting COVID, no, Mr. Biden, no, as Perry Mason would say, you're not a witness, sir. You are the murderer.
And one more point I think it's important to bring up before I get everybody else, Ben Stein, is the British and France have troops on the ground trying to get their people out. And we're America. We have 10,000.
Yeah, we have the largest army,
but we have at
largest
least
military in the world.
Ben, we have at least 10 to 20,000 people trapped in American citizens trapped in Afghanistan right now, and with no idea of them, with no way of getting them out safely. How in God's name, you talk about something that's prosecutorial. How do we not get these people out, Ben Stein?
Well, because because as I keep saying, we no longer have a Jeffersonian democracy. We have a one-party, anti-American government. We have a government in America that's anti-American. I'm going to give you a historical precedent. In France, the Germans invaded in May. They started invading Belgium and the Netherlands, I believe, on May 10th. And they very quickly got to the borders of France and went right in through what has been assumed to be impassable forests and mountain passes. And the French headquarters had no radio. They sent out their commands to their armies by carrier pigeon and by messengers on motorcycles. They had no radio or telephone. So it was like being, as one of them later said, like being in a submarine without a periscope. That is sort of like what's happening in Washington, D.C. now. The people running the war and running the government are people in a submarine without a periscope. And without a periscope, because they have no moral periscope. They have no feeling for people who are going to get killed and for people who are on our side who risk their lives and their families' lives for us. And we're doing nothing for them. It shocks the conscience.
Ben, well said. And Ben Boychuk, everything we heard for 4 years accusatory towards Donald Trump, right? That our enemies aren't going to trust us. I mean, that our allies aren't going to trust us, that he's going to blow up everything, all of this crazy talk. No, well, it's coming true now. Right. Our allies trusted Trump. We released many hostages. There was peace in most places across the world. We were working on a lot of things, and everything within 7 months, Ben, everything they predicted for Trump has come true under Biden in 7 months. Less than 7 months, Ben Boychuk.
Why is it? This wonderful man who works for me and with me, Glenn, who's sitting over here a few feet away from me, Glenn, wake up. He asked me how this could happen and how it could happen with America having such a huge armed force and the Taliban being so few in number. I said it all has to do with willpower and determination. The Finnish army, representing Finland, a very small country, beat the pants off the Red Army when the Red Army first invaded in 1940, just humiliated them, and many Russian soldiers died. Stalin killed the generals and colonels who survived, who led these people. He shot them. Then he assembled a much larger force of like 3 million. So many people, there was barely room for them to stand on Finnish soil. That finally got the Finns' attention, and they sued for peace. But determination is everything. Look at Eretz Israel. Look how they have stood up to overwhelming numerical and material advantage by their enemies, beat them, and now made peace, a lasting peace with Egypt, a wonderful country. No coincidence that's the great country of the area. And they will, I suspect, eventually make peace with Syria. But it all depends on willpower. The Afghans, some of them had it. Let's not take away from that. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I am in close touch by email with many, not just some, many veterans. And they tell me toe to toe, the Afghans would fight it out and stand there and shoot with their Kalashnikovs or whatever they were shooting with until they were dead. The Americans that have taken cover, no sense in not taking cover. the Afghans would fight it out till they were dead. And let's give them credit.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. We are nothing. If we've learned nothing from this debacle and from the way people have wanted to handle the COVID pandemic, we are nothing if not risk averse, and no risk, no reward. And so, there are reports of our military who are at the Kabul airport squabbling with the British because the Americans are under orders to stay at the military base at the airport while the British want to go out.
Are going out on patrols.
Are going out, checkpoints be damned, to get their people back. And maybe they're waiting for more of our troops to show back up so that they have more of a credible presence. I have no
or
reason
maybe they're
to
waiting
believe
for a
that's
president
true.
to speak.
Well, wait
Right.
a week ago, we had a headline saying that Biden is sending 8,000 American soldiers to defend our embassy and our people in Afghanistan. Where'd they go? Where are they? 8,000 is a lot.
Including about 1,000 members of the 82nd Airborne.
The toughest of the tough, the
Right.
82nd Airborne, the best of the best, the U.S. Marines, the best of the best, the Special Forces, the best of the best. What happened to them? What
are they doing? I don't know.
Where are they?
No,
What happened?
and here's the problem, Ben, Rob Kendall. Nobody knows what they're doing because we can't get a direct answer. The Milley says this jackass says one thing. The other guy says
Who's Milley?
He's the head of the Joint
chairman
Chiefs.
of the Joint Chiefs.
Oh my
Staff.
God!
Mike Milley,
and then you
That
have
guy is a pathetic loser.
and then you have the other guy saying something else. So in one day, Rob, I believe it was the White House that said the airport was safe, and then on the other hand, you had the head of the army. What's his name again? You brought it up in the beginning of the show. Whatever his name is, he said both the Pentagon and everybody else said the airport's not safe. They can't even get their messages together.
Horrifying, incompetent on a scale which I would have considered impossible in the United States of America. But it's happening. It's happening.
But you've seen this a lot throughout our country, especially the past year and a half, and which is people who like the idea of the office. They don't want to actually do the office. We've seen a whole lot of mayors, a whole lot of governors who don't want to lead. They still want to go to the ribbon cuttings, the photo ops. But when the push came to shove, whether it was COVID or whether it was the riots or whatever it was, they didn't want to lead. And you're seeing this with Biden. He spent his whole life liking the idea of being president. He doesn't want to actually be president, though, because this is a great example to actually be president, and he doesn't want anything to do with it.
You have to actually do something and have some gonads to be the president. You have to have some gonads to be the president. Look at what I know I'm going to get a lot of angry people writing to me and calling me names. I don't think we should have had the Civil War. I really don't. Too many people died. I think that the Southerners were in the process of freeing the slaves anyway, which was the main thing, to free the slaves. Too many people died. People have no idea of how many Americans died. So I love peace. I love peace. Trump was giving us peace. Trump, because of his strength, was giving us peace because he kept the Taliban back, because he knew that if they passed a line that had been agreed upon, he would bomb the hell out of them. Once that collapsed, there was nothing stopping the Taliban from taking over. And if you think that the humanitarian principles of the New York Times or the Washington Post or the Los Angeles Times are going to keep the Taliban from hanging people whom they consider heretics, that is a horrifyingly cruel joke.
Well,
sorry.
Well, I was going to say, can we point out too that the Washington Post wrote an article defending the Taliban being on Twitter and Donald Trump not being on Twitter?
Incredible.
No,
this is, Judah told me this earlier today.
We're going to bring that up. Yes.
Okay, sorry.
No. It's totally cool. Yes, the Taliban is on Twitter, but Ben Boychik, the Taliban's on Twitter, but Afghani soldiers, right? The Afghan government isn't allowed.
Members of the Afghan Afghan government have had their accounts suspended. And of course,
this is incredible. It's incredible.
But one of the things I wanted to bring up quickly is you keep on bringing up the troops, and I want to get everybody on this, is the troops are obviously not being led. There's obviously zero confidence in the generals. There's obviously, I would venture to say, Ben Stein, if you had a poll, 80% of the 8,000 or however many troops are there, they would say, let's get in there and let's get our people. And they would risk their life.
There, sir.
Well,
I don't think they're there. I think that Mr. Biden and Mr. Blinken and Mr. Nod just announced that they were going to go there. And then when things turned really horrible, they just silently changed their minds. There's no sign in any of the news accounts that I've seen of a new 8,000
or the 2,500 that however many troops are there are probably looking, Ben Boychik, right now at the British and the French troops going in and saying, what the hell are we doing? Beg with stand down orders, wishing they would get the approval, Ben Boychik, to go in there and save the Americans.
Yeah, there's a story in the New York Post today. The Defense Department has come under heavy criticism this week for keeping U.S. forces holed up at Kabul's international airport, while other Western nations' special forces dash into the Taliban-controlled city to rescue their citizens and Afghan allies. Earlier this week, the Daily Mail reported that the British government had dispatched 300 elite troops and other officials to Afghanistan in an attempt to bring out 6,000 UK nationals and other eligible Afghans.
And the U.S. Armed Forces overwhelm the British Armed Forces in terms of numbers. They overwhelm the Taliban in terms of numbers. The Taliban have no airplanes. They have the helicopters, gunships we left for them.
Well, they do have a lot. They have a lot of planes right now. They have Blackhawks. I think
they don't know. Apparently, they do not know how to service them and keep them working. Let's hope that they don't learn, but they probably will. They seem to be incredibly smart.
See, Rob, he brings up a great point, right? So they have all of our equipment. They have cell phones. I mean, they have a bunch of stuff that doesn't have much lasting power when you don't know how to use it and it's not treated well. Look at Venezuela, right? They have all these refineries that have been they're pretty much they can't use. The problem is Russia's willingness and China's willingness to go in there and teach them how to use it and pay them how to use it. That's the next logical catastrophe that's about to happen, Rob.
And very, very, very foreseeable. Look at a map. Look at where Afghanistan is on a map. It's a long, long, long way from Indianapolis. It's a long way from Beverly Hills. It's a long way from Big Bear Lake. It's a fucking long way from any place that we call home, but it's very close to China. Very, 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 very close to Russia. Very, very, very close. Of course, they're gonna go in there, but I pity them if they try to take over.
I don't think they're going to take. I think they've learned. I think they've learned from their mistakes, Rob. Yeah. I think they're looking at it as strategic and financial, and to mess with the U.S. Nothing more, nothing less, Rob.
Yeah, no, it absolutely is. It's a satellite office for the Chinese and the Russians. Now, what I'm most interested in is there'll be a play to be the premium partner of the Taliban. Who wins that? China, Russia? Maybe there'll be some conflict there. But think about this. There's and I know we talked about this last time, and Ben didn't think it was a super big deal, but I do, man. There was $1 trillion sitting in those mountains, and we spent all this time and effort and money in there, and we just let it go. And China apparently thinks it's a big enough deal that they're basically building an expressway across those mountains to connect their country to Afghanistan. Why didn't we recoup all the money that we put into that country? I don't understand that.
And Ben, according to Dagan McDowell, just so you know, I mean, I don't know if she speaks, I know you love Dagan McDowell. According to her, the minerals, 80% of those minerals China has are in China. So those minerals are extremely valuable minerals that could have been, as Rob said, valuable to us. That was according to Dagan McDowell. She could be wrong. I could be telling it incorrectly, but I'm almost positive that that's what she said about those minerals. So they're not as common as if China has 80% of them.
Well, I didn't say they were
Oh.
common, but they're for sale. I mean, minerals are like everything else are for sale, and it doesn't do the Taliban any good who's sitting on minerals that are used for rockets or for computers. They're not building rockets or computers. They'll sell them to someone. I mean, the main thing they're selling, which Americans really, really, really need, is opium. And opium is unbelievably
Yes.
important for people who are undergoing surgery or for people who have cancer, God forbid. That's unbelievably important. And that's all I think what we want to get out of there.
Yeah.
And they'll sell it to us. But
So-
it's not a question of commerce. It's a question of morality. It's not commerce. It's not money. It's morality.
You're completely right. But Ben Boychuk, I wanted to ask you this, and because I think this is what drives me crazy about so many powerful and influential talking heads other than people like Ben Stein. And it's this. I like, Mark Levin is a lawyer. Mark Levin is a constitutional lawyer. Mark Levin has a massive podium in the conservative community. Okay. Mark Levin has made millions of dollars. He could retire at any moment. Why are people like him? And this is what I love about Larry Klayman. Larry Klayman has given up being accepted even in the conservative community. Where are the people, the conservatives, willing to, as Ben brought up, prosecute, use their legal advice to go after this administration? It's okay to be on Hannity and scream it, but to actually go into head the next day, Ben Boychuk, and do it is something totally different. And it's time we start seeing them doing that, like Larry Elder running for governor. He's putting his money where his mouth is. Where are conservatives that are willing to put their money where their mouth is, Ben Boychuk?
Well, I know Mark a little bit, and I like him, and I haven't talked to him in a long time, but I think there are a lot of folks who just are in it for the money and not so much the principle. I was talking to a good friend of mine earlier today, and sort of, we were talking a little bit about how American greatness is doing, and I was kind of giving him my typical lament that we're doing great, but we could be doing better, and I would love to be raising more money. But as he pointed out to me, there's a lot of dumb money on the right, and there's a there's a lot of dumb money. Yeah, and that there are a lot of people who are very good at failing in government. For example, certain former members of Trump's administration left the administration, started their own organizations, and were showered with tens of millions of dollars. Why? They didn't really accomplish anything in their jobs. They just happen to, know the right people to ask, and, know how to raise the money and have the nice offices in Northern Virginia. We don't have an office even.
I don't know what to say about that. I mean, I have no idea of how you raise money. I really don't. But what I do know is how to write. I do know how to talk.
Right. But more than that, Ben, you've served our country. You and your father, Ben, have served our country.
Right.
Okay. You've done the down and dirty, and you've fought, and you've written for years. You've risked your career over and over and over again, Ben Stein.
Well, God bless you, sir. God bless you for those kind words.
And it's true. And the problem is, where are the rest of these jackasses that every day, then, as Ben said, dumb money, Ben?
Dumb money on the right.
Yeah. Dumb money on the right, Ben. It's sort of like everybody gets gaslit by these shows and by these people speaking, yet they never end up using their God-given talents like you have to make a real contribution. Okay, Ben, you and Larry Klayman have risked your careers to fight for what you believe in. Where are those other people? And it's really frustrating.
If I may, just to complete my thought.
Thank you.
Because I don't want to make it sound like this is special pleading or anything on my part. I just wanted to make the point that we are a lean operation, and we're not in it to get rich. And we don't have fancy office space because we all are blessed to be able to work at home, and so my point simply is that there are some of us who have been doing this kind of work for all of our lives, and not with any expectation of being fantastically wealthy, but because we actually believe this stuff. And so, and we want to do what we can to help our country and maybe even to save our country. And so, I would hope and expect that as we go into an election year in 2022, that you see more candidates who are willing to step up and say, that they want to save the country. They want to serve their country well, and they want to bring this administration to account. The example of Larry Elder is an interesting one. This California recall that's coming up is going to be kind of a preview maybe of what the election might look like next year, because it's very possible that California's governor, Gavin Newsom, might get kicked out. Now, who replaces him, that's an open question. Larry Elder is maybe running into some trouble, but
wait, back up. What kind of trouble, sir?
Politico did a hit piece on him today.
May I ask what it said? Because I love him. I love the guy.
Supposedly, there was a woman. It's always a woman when there's a hit piece on a Republican. That Ben, correct me if I'm wrong, that when he was smoking weed, which is a drug that's known to cause.
That's very, very, very funny.
No, just a drug that's known to cause violence. Supposedly, it was one of Heidi Fleiss's girls that he pulled a gun on. Supposedly,
no. Don't mischaracterize who the woman is. The woman is identified in the story as his former fiance, and who was also a longtime producer on his radio program. And she alleges that incident occurred where he was super stoned and brandished a gun at her.
Nails, Robert.
And
what year was this?
2015. And then she also alleges, this was the part of the story I thought was most disturbing. He wanted her to get a tattoo that said Larry's girl.
And Ben, this is what he's referring to, that this is the hit piece that's on Larry Elder right now. Yeah. A guy that's
shocking. A clean-cut guy in the world. And even if he does want his girlfriend to have a tattoo saying Larry's girl, it's mystifying to me. I don't understand.
Okay, for the record, everybody, Ben asked me personally if I could get a tattoo that said Ben's girl. And I thought about it, but I didn't see anything crazy about it. But Ben, it's amazing. 5 years later, the story comes out just as he's running for governor.
I will tell you, I think I would trust this guy with my last dollar. I would trust him with anything in my house. Including my wife, who's the most sacred being on the planet. This is just scandalous that this is happening. And but I might add, tattoos are commonplace in California.
So is weed. God bless. And black people.
I own some commercial property, a little tiny bit. I often smell weed around there by other people, coming from other people. Are you kidding? That's news. Are you kidding me?
Well, listen, I don't know that I would trust Larry Elder with, my worldly goods, but I would simply say the best I will say of any politician, even ones that I like, is that I harbor no particular ill will.
He's not a politician. He's a talk radio show host.
Well, he's in the realm of politics now.
That's literally been called an Uncle Tom for the better part of 30 years and has fought against reverse racism for his whole life and his whole career. He's, very similar akin to people like Ben Carson or any black conservative. And
no. Wait a minute. He is 1,000 billion miles ahead of Ben Carson in terms of intelligence.
And so is Rob Kendall, best talk show host in America. I might add, for 93.1 WIBC, we grow hair indie. And on that note, if you just tuned in, you are listening to The World According to that man, Benjamin Jeremy Stein, the man with hands we don't want to imagine what they can do. We're joined tonight from American Greatness, managing editor Ben Boychuk, and like I said, Rob Kendall. I want to thank, I believe it was Linda that said she listens to our show over and over again. Thank you for the kind words.
Wow.
It's extremely complimentary. as many times as you like. Keep downloading that show, Linda. It is greatly appreciated. I hope I get your name right. Tammy Gormley, who's a flight attendant, Ben, said to Rock Breath, you are one of her favorite people to fly with in first class. You always treat her with dignity. So there's a shout out to Tammy Gormley.
What airline?
American Airlines, I would imagine.
I used to be on American first class, I would say close to 100 times a year, but the pandemic has changed.
Hey, Ben, what's it like in first class?
Oh my God, it's unbelievable. You get steak, you get fried chicken from Delaware, you get anything you want. They put a cup on your nose, like when you go to the doctor and get nitrous oxide, and you're breathing, and you're high the whole time. And they massage your feet, and they clip your ear hairs and your nose hairs, and it's just an experience like nothing I've ever had before. It costs like $5 billion one way, but it's well worth it.
And in the bathrooms, by the way, you forgot to talk about the bathrooms, Ben.
Each bathroom is as big as my whole house. My whole house is about 5,000 square feet. Each bathroom is at least that big and has a television.
And they're self-cleaning. And
right.
And they clean you, Rob. So there you go, Rob Kendall. That's the answer to your first class question. And to Ben's point, it's not what it was. It sucks now. Its seats are a little bigger. That's pretty much what you're getting for and you get out of the plane quicker. The last thing I want to talk about tonight is Ben Boychik is this. Okay, so just so everybody knows, New York politics is New York politics and New York real estate is the roughest business in the world. And a man there, the district, what is he? The district attorney, Ben?
The Manhattan, Cyrus Vance.
Yeah. So please tell the story.
He's the son of a former high official in some Democrat.
Yeah, the guy that messed up in the Carter with the Iranians, right?
A well-connected stoned moron.
Cyrus Vance Sr. Yeah,
this is a hardcore lefty. A well-connected. What did he say?
Stone moron.
Okay, that's the title of the show. But Ben Boychik, please tell the story.
Stone moron. So this is a story from the New York Post. Again, it's actually on the op-ed page. It was by Andy McCarthy, and he talks about the tale of Ken Kurson. Now, Ken Kurson is the former editor of the New York Observer and a very good friend of Donald Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner. And I guess he wrote speeches for Rudy Giuliani for a bit. He also was... It's like
the Bermuda Triangle of hatred, Ben Boychik. Right,
yeah. And so he was briefly considered for a position on the National Endowment for the Humanities. And in the course of anybody who is up for a government job, Ben, as you know, has to be investigated by the FBI. Well, the FBI discovered that in 2015, his marriage was falling apart, and he kind of lost his mind and was harassing people involved, friends of his wife, now ex-wife. And so the FBI looked at that and thought this sounded like maybe cyber stalking. And so federal prosecutors in Brooklyn, anyway, decided to file a criminal complaint just weeks before the 2020 election. In one of his last decisions, Trump pardoned Kurson because he said, look, if not for the political connection, there would not have been a criminal case. So enter Cy Vance. Cy Vance is a showboating left-wing politician, decided that if the feds weren't going to do something about it, he would charge Kurson with felony electronic eavesdropping, and made a statement saying, "We will not accept presidential pardons as get-out-of-jail-free cards for the well-connected in New York."
That's very funny. That's very funny, since his whole life is about kissing the ass of the well-connected and rich in New York. That's who he is. That is his reason for living.
Yeah.
And by the way, did you bring up the Paul Manafort thing? Sorry, I was responding to people in the comments section. Ben, did you bring up the Paul Manafort thing?
No.
So Ben, he wanted to go after Paul Manafort. After Paul Manafort was pardoned. Cy Vance tried going after Manafort too, but that case was dropped. I mean, what else is there to say? I mean,
well, let me just say what I just said about Cyrus Vance Jr. is just my opinion. I'm not prosecuting him. I don't claim that I have any detailed knowledge of the facts. I do know that he prosecuted Dominique Strauss-Kahn, head of the either the head or deputy head of the IMF, a man of incredible ability. He prosecuted him entirely because he was not part of the ruling clique in France, and he prosecuted him for the most ridiculous, trumped up, fake rape case there ever was in history, in which the evidence all showed that this hotel maid was in league with a group of people who are on the political other side in France against Dominique Strauss-Kahn, and they trumped it up, and they were like giving each other high fives after the incident in which the maid had claimed to be raped by Dominique Strauss-Kahn. And if you saw pictures of the maid, you would have to admire how much testosterone Mr. Dominique Strauss-Kahn has to go after this woman. I mean, this is a guy, I admire his testosterone. I couldn't even imagine doing what he did. I can't.
But
even
this is
imagine.
just. I just want to use you as an example because Ben wrote about this.
I wrote about this a lot,
and Ben was one of his only defenders.
And this is out that every word I said was true.
And this was my point, though, Ben. You went out of you risked another part of your career to defend this guy, believing in right and wrong.
Right. That's very good. Well, you're very kind. You're very kind. You're very kind. I hope my big wifey is watching this and hears that, because that's a very, very, very wonderful compliment. I hope that my dear friends from all over the world are watching it. It's a very, very big compliment. I'm very, very, very much appreciate it. Very, very much. I hope very, very much that my friend who fought in 5 tours in Iraq and Afghanistan is watching it. Okay. Right and wrong. Right and wrong. You don't prosecute somebody for eavesdropping, possibly, on his wife after he's been his ex-wife, after he's been pardoned by the president of the United States. You do that as a hit piece so that you will be given pats on the back when you go to parties and fancy neighborhoods in Manhattan. This is a nonsense reason for bringing a case. And it shocks me that prosecutorial misconduct has reached this level. I pray that Mr. Vance has a change of heart and just steps up and says, ladies and gentlemen, even I can make mistakes. This is a serious mistake. I rest my case. There's no more case here. I'm very, very sorry. And that's, that would make him a man with balls.
You'd need a heart, but you would need a heart to have it changed. But Rob, remember, Rob and Ben, I want to get to those as quickly, because remember the days when MySpace and Facebook, when there was that, like, you could see, like, there was a certain program that you could see who was looking at you.
I never had a MySpace, but I was one of the OGs of Facebook back when you used to have a college email to get on Facebook, and now they've ruined Facebook.
And just so you know, everybody that was in college at the time of Facebook says the same exact thing as you. Okay,
they let the old people.
You were number 2,700 in the. But Ben Boychuk, remember that?
No offense, but they let the old people in, and it all went to hell.
But Ben Boychuk, remember, and I'm getting to this Cy Vance thing, but because you remember those days when you thought they could track who you were staring at, or you thought there were programs, and I was like, oh shit, I am screwed with like all the like clicking on the same profile incessantly, I mean, and listen, in the interest of full disclosure, we're all guilty of stuff. Or guilty. We've all done silly stuff, Ben Boychuk. That's what Cy Vance is going after this guy for, is being a guy that couldn't put his feelings in place, Ben Boychuk.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm not sure what to make of what Ken Kurson may or may not have done. I think there's an interesting little nugget in this McCarthy piece, though, that even his own ex-wife doesn't want this thing.
That's exactly right. She doesn't want to. Yeah.
Yeah, no, she wrote in this pardon application that she had repeatedly asked for the FBI to drop the case, and that she had hired a lawyer to protect herself from being forced into yet another round of questioning. Quote, "My disgust with this arrest and the subsequent articles is bottomless," unquote.
And may I say, I have seen something a little bit similar, not the same, not anywhere near as bad. When I was being investigated for working at the White House, because you do have to be investigated, the people who, the FBI chases your people and your background around, and the people who are the most dishonest liars about me were professors and Bolshevists at College 5 of UC Santa Cruz, and who made up incredible stories about my dog pooping in sacred spots on the college campus. Who was the number one defender of Ben Stein? My ex-wife, Alexandra Denman, the absolutely finest being on the world. At that time, we were divorced. The FBI agent who talked to Alex, who is a saint, a goddess, an absolute living goddess, said he had never seen a wife who was divorced standing up so much for her ex-husband. I am married to a goddess, a literal goddess. And even the fucking FBI could not break that down.
So one second. I've never heard this story in the 18 years. The FBI interviewed you because they accused you of having your dog.
They interviewed all these people that I used to work with at UC Santa Cruz. Don't get me wrong. I love UC Santa Cruz. They're in my will. I love them. But some of the faculty members there were angry Bolshevists. And by the way, right there on the campus, very near where I used to live on the campus, at least was the office of Angela Davis, I think one of the highest ranking members of the Communist Party of the USA, and she's there living it up. And it's incredible. By the way, I don't know if the campus is open now because of the pandemic. I have no idea one way or the other. But if you ever have a chance to go visit that campus, that is a beautiful campus.
How do you get in Ben Stein's will?
There goes.
I'm just telling you, Robert Kendall. By the time I die, which could be tomorrow, I won't have a dime left. I have a very, very, very costly son.
Okay, and we hope we offered you a little bit of everything on tonight's show, and I do believe we have. Ash in America, thank you for the compliments, telling us this is the best show around. It means the world to us. Thank you kindly. Thank you everybody for your kind words in the chat tonight, and thank you everybody after they download the show gives us really nice comments. It really means a lot to us. benstein.substack.com. You could download the episodes wherever episodes are available to download. You could find Rob every day from 9 to noon. Rob, give a plug for a plug.
The Mock and Rob Show, 9 to noon Eastern, WIBC.com.
Bam. Don't forget
how can you get up that early?
I love my audience, Ben.
And don't forget to give the other plug.
WeGrowHairIndie.com.
I love that. Plugging a plug.
They pull the hair out of the back of your head and they transplant it to the top of your head.
Sure, that's what they told you.
Great.
That's where they told you they pulled it from.
You look great. And
of course, one of the two best online news sites in America. One, of course, being Ben Boychik's American Greatness. You could read people like Victor Davis Hanson, and of course Julie Kelly, who is, like I said, she's one of the brave ones. She's in the trenches, risking life and limb to bring justice for the people on January 6th. She should be commended, and everybody should be reading her articles, right, Ben Boychik?
Yes, indeed. We've got a humdinger going up. Well, it should be up now.
Read that humdinger. It's up on amgreatness.com. And of course, you could follow Ben Stein, spectator.org. Please throw a few shekels both their ways. Everybody that works for them lives very modestly. You can know your money is going to the right places. It's going to pay for brilliant reporting.
Not everybody.
Not everybody, but I know they don't pay you, Ben Stein. And Ben does it for fun and for free and for love of country. And I want to thank everybody that's been in the chat tonight. I want to thank all the people I want to thank Glenn, who helped sets up the show for Ben over there.
Glenn, we're praising you. We're praising you.
Wake up, Glenn. Best line of the night. Wake up, Glenn. I'm talking to you. This is Ben Stein talking to you. And I want to thank everybody. We'll be back Saturday night. I want to pray for the people in Afghanistan. All joking sometimes aside, I want to pray for everybody in Afghanistan. Everybody deserves our prayers, and after prayers comes action. And I pray that we act. Sorry, Ben?
I'm going to end with a prayer instead of a song.
Okay. You could end with both.
Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountains' majesties above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed his grace on thee and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. And now I will end with prayer.
Let me just say one thing in between. For this, avenge for the people in Afghanistan, that they don't have to die. Avenge us, Wolverines. Go ahead, Ben.
Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. And give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. And I will add, dear Lord, please, a special prayer for those poor people in Afghanistan who have been betrayed by the United States of America and who will probably now face extremely difficult days. And God help them. Thank you. Amen.
God bless everybody. God bless you all. Have a great night.